The Realm Tree. Episode 27, Winter Rapture.
Whoa, the Autumn Realm is so cool!
Really? I always thought it was kind of boring.
The leaves like fire paint the cloudy sky. In every rain the autumn satisfies.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. I think. As we traveled, we didn't see any soldiers on our way through the Autumn Realm. The whole place was so peaceful and beautiful. Still, we flew low to the ground, moving one at a time around the trees. After a little more flying, we stopped at the edge of a flowing river.
According to the professor's coordinate, Autumn representative Riel Moth was often lurking around here, and then he would dive into the water and vanish without a trace. Even his surveillance abilities had trouble tracking him.
Ooh, spooky!
Is there an underwater passage or something?
My thoughts exactly. I can access it once we find it. Can you have Baby Rondell search the riverbed for some kind of opening?
You got it! Baby Rondell, go!
The rock doll on Rondell's shoulder leapt onto the mossy rocks at the edge of the river. Using its stubby hands, it pulled the rocks into itself until it became a stone dolphin. It splashed into the river and swam around for a few minutes before extending out of the river as a stone lamppost in a spot across the way.
Over there! That's the entrance.
Perfect.
Lyndon took out 2 feather quills and held them delicately in each hand.
Rondell, you've seen my orange quill. It grants me telekinesis under the condition of verse. This blue quill is new and possesses the power of creation.
He wrote in the air with both quills at the same time. Orange and blue scribbles appeared around Lyndon, and a giant blue cylinder appeared above the water. The orange telekinetic energy surrounded it, and it splashed into the water, creating a funnel around the stone post.
Next, we move the water, which may require more magic. Give me a hand, Daisy.
You bet! I placed a hand on Lyndon's shoulder, infusing him with my power aura. He continued to write in the air, drawing water out of the cylinder he created and splashing it into the rest of the river. We flew over to the funnel, Baby Rondell turning from a post back into a doll. It excitedly pointed a stubby hand downwards at the dry riverbed.
What's up, little buddy? A fake floor? A secret passage under a slab? It's not made of rock, but Daisy could probably move it?
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I'm fluent in rock.
Well, okay. Thank you, my little friend. Baby Rondell pointed me to a slit in the ground. I reached my fingers into it, activated my power aura, and lifted a chunk of the riverbed above my head. It revealed a deep, dark tunnel that went downwards and curved further forward. When we peered into it, we saw the tunnel was made out of thick spider webs.
Whoa, this looks familiar.
These were the webs in the Realm Tree.
What are you talking about?
There were tunnels under some parts of the tree that were made of really thick webs. The jewel hunters were sneaking around in them. It's how they kept popping up everywhere.
And where they hid the jewels they stole.
Wait, why did nobody think to tell me this? Representative Moth is said to have insect control powers. If any member of your team had thought to mention it, or if Rondell had done any research on his own representative, we might have figured out the council was after our jewels a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's
That
what I
makes
was gonna
sense.
say.
That makes sense.
Obviously.
Honestly, how did your team even survive?
We climbed down into the tunnel of webs. Lyndon led the way, conjuring a glowing blue lantern. I plugged the riverbed back up with the slab. We walked through the tunnel for about a half hour. If this Moth guy swam under the river and through this tunnel, there's no way he could have held his breath for this long.
He's got control of bugs, right? Maybe he could make a bubble around his head like those water spiders.
Maybe, but he'd have to be pretty strong to move that slab too.
Whatever the reason, keep your guard up. I see light up ahead.
The tunnel rose above ground onto a small island floating in the center of a lake. The only things on this island were a giant tree with orange and red leaves and a well-dressed fairy looking out over the water. He turned to face us.
Well, isn't this a surprise? I know Lyndon Breeze and the rambunctious Rondell Stone from my realm. And you must be the healer, Daisy Demeter. I am Autumn Representative Riel Moth. It's a pleasure.
Guys, why is he being so nice?
Real Moth. Your honeyed words won't get us to let down our guard. It's a strategy I'm rather familiar with. It's how I defeated Rondell when we dueled during the test.
Yeah, it was cheap!
Relax. Believe it or not, I have no stake in this fight anymore. You're after this, correct?
Moth held out the orange fragment of autumn between two fingers. He casually tossed it over to Lyndon, who snatched it out of the air.
Okay. What's the trick here? Is it a fake fragment?
No, it's certainly real.
You can say I am from a sympathetic faction. I don't see any reason to tell you more. For now, just take the kindness that comes your way, drop the barrier, and move on. Good luck in your endeavor. I'll be off now.
Hold it, Mr. Autumn Representative. You're not who you say you are.
Huh? Whatever do you mean?
I don't think you're a fairy. Real Moth froze, his wings stopping before he was about to fly off.
Well, that is a ludicrous proposition, young lady.
Daisy, what are you talking about?
So Talia's not a fairy, or not a full fairy. That's because her mom is something different, something called an Amorphian. They're creatures who can mimic the appearance and powers of other creatures. Talia's been learning how to use their magic, and she told me all about them. You could have made those webs and tunnels with a spider transformation, swam through them with a fish transformation, and used some super strong transformation to block the way with the slab. All while disguising yourself with a fairy transformation in your daily life.
Well, Daisy Demeter, you are actually quite clever. That was some excellent deduction.
So it's true then?
Yes, it is. I am not a fairy. I am an Amorphian like Violet Wick. The fairy facade, the rumors of insect control magic, it's all a fabrication.
Oh, Daisy with the brains!
I kinda cheated. Talia told me her mom knows you, and that you were sent here to keep an eye on her. Just wanted to see if you would admit it yourself. Get got?
Fine. I suppose you've earned the truth. Clever girl.
Moth undid his button down and turned around to show us the jewel in his back.
Looks real, doesn't it? The jewel's actually fake. It was shadow-stitched unto me. Night steel can cut it, but so can Amorphian abilities. Fairy magic is nothing compared to what it used to be.
The nails on his right hand extended into razor-sharp claws. One by one, he sliced the thin stitches, keeping the jewel in his back. It fell to the ground, landing comfortably in the soil.
Violet broke a taboo, coming to the land of the fairies. I came to the Six Realms to keep an eye on both her and Cassius. He left our home with the secrets of the Amorphians, and I followed. Violet figured me out right quick, but he still doesn't know.
Interesting. I'm following you so far, but I have more questions. Who stitched the fake jewel onto your back?
Vander Gray.
Sai's dad?
Yes, though he has no memory of it. As an Amorphian, I hold the power of the Mar people within myself and the hypnotic power of their siren song. Violet's jewel is fake as well, though I assume Cassius is the one that stitched it onto her.
Okay, Mr. Moth. I've got two big questions for you.
Go ahead, sweetheart. You've earned them.
Why is the council collecting all these jewels? And the power of the realm beasts?
It's not for immortality, I can tell you that much. Beatrice, Lily Green, and Kent believe it is, but Cassius is lying to them. Immortality isn't possible with something like fairy jewels. Frankly, I don't know what he's planning.
You truly have no idea?
Not a clue. But whatever it is, must be a threat to Amorphians as well as fairies. That's why I'm giving you the fragment I've been pretending to wield for so long before I get out of here. I couldn't drop the barrier if I tried, but now you young fairies can. Enjoy this victory.
On that note, here's my last question. Why don't you join us?
Daisy, are you sure about this?
I still don't know if we can trust this guy.
I'm sure. I know I can trust him because I know he's telling the truth. Come on, Mr. Moth. If you're so worried about what Cassius is planning, come join our team. We'd welcome your help with open arms.
You are something else. I must decline this generous offer. You have a point, but I am terrified of Cassius Wick. His ambition and his power are a threat to worlds far beyond this one. I hate to admit it, but I wouldn't stand a chance.
Are you sure? You could help out from the back. That's what my parents and the professor are doing.
No, If Cassius discovers me, it is a definite target on the Amorphians rather than just a potential one. That includes Violet as well as myself. But you are very kind to ask.
That's disappointing. But I'll take the compliment.
Be my guest.
So, we're done here? That's it?
Yep.
I believe so.
Indeed. I'll be on my way. Drop the autumn barrier at your convenience.
Dang! I wanted to try out Baby Rondell in real combat.
You'll get the chance. Cassius won't go down easy, but I believe this made it a little easier.
Riel Moth walked to the edge of the water. He smiled at us, and his wings wrapped around his legs, becoming the tail of a fish.
Goodbye for now. Go help your friends. And give Violet my regards.
Moth dove into the water with a splash, vanishing from sight.
It looks like your conversations with Talia have yielded some fascinating information, Daisy. Thank you for that.
It's like I'm always saying, friendship brings good things your way.
Indeed. Well, let's get to dropping that barrier, shall we?
Hang on. Before we do that, I want to check something.
Baby Rondell turned into a dolphin once again and leapt into the lake after Moth.
Huh. We got here through a tunnel in the river, dropping us on the shore. But there's no tunnels in this lake. He dived into the water and now he's totally gone.
Strange. Maybe this is another Amorphian power.
Could be. The autumn realm was quiet as falling leaves touched the surface of the lake.
Man, the world is so much bigger than we ever thought it was, huh?
Yeah. I'd love to see more of it someday.
In truth, we are but ignorant and small.
The ways we do our stuff, we have a ball.
Beautiful, Rondell.
Haha!
I smiled and pulled Rondell and Lyndon into a big hug. Lyndon held the autumn fragment high, and the barrier fell.
Under the dark trees of the night realm, my mom and I snuck through the shadows. I peeked forward first, brandishing my harpoon. Coast is clear. Let's go.
Talia, we've been searching for weeks, and it's getting harder to lay low. Are you sure your allies made it to the night realm?
I'm positive. I made a plan with one of them in case things get weird. And that's exactly what happened when the barrier started falling. The day and night realms are the only ones that are still up.
And that qualifies as weird.
Yup. Alright, we're just about there. We said we'd meet up in this clearing under the full moon in case the plan got started early. He should be here any minute now. In the moonlight, a dark portal appeared in front of us. Stepping through it was the bearded, wingless fairy Vander.
Hello, Talia. I'm glad I was able to find you. You're good at masking yourself, even from the professor.
Sorry about that, Vander. We wanted to be as careful as possible. You've met my mom already.
I have. Nice to see you, Violet.
Hello again.
Professor Doherty is hiding away with Verdun and Alpine Demeter. It's taken a lot of searching, but we've almost extracted every young fairy that remained in the realm tree after the test ended.
So that's what you and the professor have been up to.
That's right. We've slowed down their jewel collection and saved many. Now, with all these barriers dropped, we should have the chaos and reinforcements we need to have a chance at the night fragment.
Great. Well, we're ready to help. Point me to my dad.
A light fall of snow touched the ruins. The flakes that fell over Ferh melted into drops of water, sizzling off his fiery bath. Jonathan paced before us, glowing with the energy of the winter beast. We all stood battle-ready, Florence crunching one of her power-focusing pills. But Jonathan just continued to dust snow off the stone carvings on the ancient walls.
Now, this structure existed before the reign of the beasts. It was from the time of the first fairies. I wouldn't have known about it without going through Sovereign Wick's notes on the subject. If he has any weakness, it's underestimating others. Like many, he believed I didn't have an original thought in my mind. So, when left unattended, I went through his journals. Nothing too personal. He's not the type to write down his feelings, but he did have quite a lot on the history of fairies, long lost to modern knowledge.
Using his winter powers, Jonathan moved snow off a massive stone mural. At its top, there were carvings of radiant figures descending from clouds. Cowering away from them were monstrous fairies. Some had bladed teeth, some had horns, and others were part animal.
The first fairies were different from any of us. They were born with wings, their magic was more pure, and they lived far longer. They were better. Even now, with the power of the winter beast, my magic pales in comparison to theirs. But fate changed after the societies beyond the realms cursed our blood. Our natural flight was taken away. We became dependent on jewels to do anything. Thousands of years later, I believe Cassius and myself are the only fairies that know this. Even the council is in the dark about our history before the beasts. So please, consider this a small blessing. To know all of this before I bring your lives to a close.
Jonathan turned to us. He rose in the air without needing to flap his jagged wings.
My power and this knowledge, I will go beyond the 6 realms, to lands no fairy has seen in thousands of years. I will find and unlock the magic of the first fairies, to attain true enlightenment. And now, before I make my journey, I can take your summer beast as my own.
I always thought you were stupid. Turns out, you're just crazy.
I can't believe we lost sight of someone like you.
Ferh, do you think he's being truthful?
The world he speaks of is before my existence. But whether it is true or not, the malicious intent from this boy chills my body.
Don't worry, I'll make this quick.
Ice gathered around the tip of Jonathan's staff, extending to grow sharp and jagged. His black staff was now the handle for a misshapen frozen blade, longer than his own body. He gripped it with both hands.
Now, let's begin!
Jonathan swooped down at us, raising his weapon to strike.
Cedar shield!
Cedar blocked his attack with a barrier. The impact released a small shockwave. Jonathan's massive ice sword swung against the barrier again and again, cracking it down the middle.
You're tough! No one's ever dented my shield like this!
I'm not playing around.
Neither are we.
Running to the side, a spike of ice extended from Florence's arm. Jonathan's wing folded over his side to block it, the attack bouncing off. Ferh formed a ball of fire in his mouth, launching it at Jonathan. He smacked Cedar's barrier one more time with his weapon to knock him away, before slicing through Ferh's fireball with his blade of ice.
You can resist my fire.
Here the powers of winter are at their strongest, and I believe you are at your most vulnerable.
Jonathan leapt at Ferh to swing his blade down. I flew to the back of his line of sight and used my hypnosis. Rest, Jonathan. Go to sleep. Seeing me, Jonathan's eyes widened. He slowed in the air, his hesitation letting Ferh dodge back. Shards of ice exploded from the ground, struck by Jonathan's weapon.
Your powers are, irritating, Ingrid. But you can't put both me and the beast inside me to sleep.
Jonathan swung his massive weapon in 2 circles above his head. An icy whirlwind burst off of him, staggering all of us as we were pelted with hail. I covered my body with my arms, but since I was airborne, the wind blew me back hard. I crashed into a stone wall.
Babe!
Florence flew to my side and helped me up. I could see Jonathan dueling with Ferh and Cedar, clashing his blade with Cedar's barriers and Ferh's burning claws.
You okay, Ing?
Yes. I can't put him to sleep anymore. He's too powerful. But that definitely had some effect. Even just a little confusion.
Just slow him down and stay safe. Can you still make yourself invisible to him?
With all of you distracting him, I think so. I'll stay far back and mess with his head as much as I can.
Great. However tough this kid is, it's still 4 against 1. We got this.
Florence flew to help Cedar and Ferh. Ah! Keeping her distance, Florence launched icicle spears at Jonathan. He knocked each of them aside, either with his weapon or with the brute strength of his arms. Out of nowhere, Cedar threw a barrier around himself and rammed into Jonathan. The attack slid Jonathan across the ground on his feet. Florence kicked and extended an icicle from her leg, causing him to stagger back further as he deflected it. When he came close to me, I raised my hand gently and made eye contact. Slow down, Jonathan.
Ugh! You annoying little...
Right where I want you!
Jonathan didn't notice the fire building around him until it was too late. Pillars of flame shot from the ground until they formed a burning cage. Cedar and Florence breathed heavily, waiting for Jonathan to make a move. He casually waved his icy sword through the bars of fire.
Well, that was frustratingly good teamwork. This cage of fire caught me off guard when you used it at the top of the tree, you lion. But each day I'm learning new tricks.
The frozen blade melted off Jonathan's staff, and it clattered to the stone ground. His wings wrapped over his body like a cocoon and shrunk around him, until all that was left of the boy were the hovering frozen shards of ice. Without warning, the shards jettisoned between the bars of the cage in different directions. Cedar deflected one with an arm shield. Ferh tried to claw the ones that flew near him, but they were too fast. The shards continued to fly around until they all coalesced high above the ground. In a swirl of ice and snow, Jonathan reformed high above us, floating in the air.
Now, time to go on the offensive.
He closed his eyes and held his hands to his sides, palms up. His wings spread wide and continued to grow from the frost. Soon he looked small compared to the spiked, angelic wings that kept him afloat. The ice on them extended like bladed feathers.
Get behind me, everyone!
We all ran over to Cedar, who spread his arms to make a barrier.
Super Cedar Shield!
That won't be enough!
In a rain of jagged ice, the bladed feathers of Jonathan's frozen wings launched at us, pelting Cedar's barrier. Ferh created several fireballs that curved over the barrier to hit Jonathan. He clapped his hands together and protected himself with a shield of ice. The fire crashed into it and vanished, but his rain of ice continued.
I can't hold it much longer!
We can't let Jonathan gain any momentum. Spread out and ground him!
If he focuses on you, just dodge and let everyone else make the attacks.
Understood. Let us move!
Cedar held the barrier while we broke formation to run in different directions. Florence and I ran to the left, while Ferh ran to the right.
Where to aim? What a conundrum. I suppose I could try to hit all of you.
Jonathan's wings flared wider, and so did his rain of ice. Florence flew upwards while I stayed low, trying to spread the attack thin. Florence swallowed another pill on the way up, and her fingers extended into blades of ice. She slashed through the shards flying at me. Ferh glowed with a burning aura and breathed a jet of fire while he backed up, the heat melting some of the ice that flew towards him. But he was still getting hit, and so was Florence, the shards finding their mark in her right arm and calf. Jonathan wasn't even looking at me, and he kept shaking off my hypnosis. I needed to get his attention. I picked up a mound of snow from the ground, shaping it between my hands. Hey! I wheeled my arm and threw the snowball upwards. It broke against Jonathan's boot.
Oh?
Why waste your time on them when I'm such an easy target?
Interesting. All right, I'll play your game.
The rain of ice stopped. Jonathan's giant wings curled around him to point down at me.
Sorry, Ingrid. You asked for this.
Stop right there!
2 thick green vines flew up from the ground and wrapped around Jonathan's wings. They tightened, stalking the attack. I spun around to see Cedar throwing seeds on the ruined ground. He flexed his burly arms and glowed with the green energy of biomancy. The remaining seeds burst into vines as well. The longer they grew, the more pinkish-white flowers bloomed all over them. Cedar punched the air, and the vines flew quickly at Jonathan.
Cedar Spear!
The green vines wrapped around Jonathan and his giant wings. They tightened. Cedar swung his fist down, and the vines followed, slamming Jonathan into the ground. In the crater on the floor, Jonathan stood up and started to fight his way out of the vines. Cedar grabbed one vine in each hand, tangling them around Jonathan in twists and knots. He pulled them into a loop with both arms.
Cedar, stick!
The vines tightened forcefully around Jonathan's extended wings of ice. There was a loud cracking sound, and the vines snapped Jonathan's wings into pieces. Cedar panted, his body heaving, still holding the vines around Jonathan.
Well then, that was rather incredible. You have my respect, Cedar Rose. I hope we become friends in your next life.
There isn't a chance in hell.
How unfortunate.
Jonathan tightened his hands around the vines. He glowed, and they started to freeze over. Frost trailed down to Cedar in a matter of seconds. When the cold hit his arms, it burst into icy spikes. Cedar dropped the vines, his arms stabbed and bleeding.
Hey, crazy! Don't forget about me!
In the sky, Florence extended icicles from all of her limbs to stab down at Jonathan. Despite being grounded, he was able to dodge and break the icicles as they rained down.
She's holding him still, but in a battle of attrition.
We'll lose. Ferh, if this goes poorly, you need to escape.
What? Don't be ridiculous. I won't leave any of you to die.
We don't need to fight Jonathan. He doesn't have a fragment we need to steal. Escape might be best, and we'd likely lose someone if we tried before knocking him out. And of our lives, yours is the most important. If he kills you, he'll have the power of two beasts. No matter which world he ends up in, it will surely spell disaster.
That is true. What are you suggesting?
Ferh, I want you to fuse with me, like how Jinx fuses with Talia. My body will be your shield. Then if Jonathan is about to kill me, I slow him down with close-range hypnosis. Then you leave my body and run as fast and as far as you can.
Ingrid, I am thousands and thousands of years old. You are so young and have so much to live for.
You've also spent thousands of years imprisoned in the Realm Tree. Let me do what I can to make up for the crimes of my people. It's time for fairies to protect you. Jonathan was able to break away from Florence's attacks and make it back to the staff he dropped on the ground. Her attack started to slow.
What's the matter? Need another one of your pills?
As Florence shakily reached for her pill bottle, Jonathan blasted it out of her hand with a shard of ice.
No!
You're not a threat anymore if you need those things to fight. Everyone in the Winter Realm remembers what happened last time you went off your meds. Now please, excuse me. I'm about to collect another beast.
Jonathan snapped his fingers, and the chilly air became frozen cuffs around Florence's wrists. She wrestled with them above us. We're running out of time. Ferh, please. I won't just throw my life away, I promise. If I could use your magic, I will. I'll do this the right way.
Very well. Think warm thoughts, Ingrid, Kalt.
Ferh lowered his head to press his forehead to mine. At first it was hot. Then, as the heat overtook my body, it felt comfortable, like the sun on your skin. I opened my eyes and Ferh was gone, but my body was pulsing with red energy. I looked at my reflection in the ice on the ground and saw my white hair now had extensions of red energy, like strands of fire.
Interesting. Using the power of a beast from a different realm. I suppose the Sovereign does the same thing with the spring and autumn flames, but you aren't half as strong as he is, right?
Ferh, can I shoot fire now? How do I fight like this?
This is new to me as well. Try finding emotion, focus, and desire.
All right, here we go! I met the darkness of Jonathan's eyes, trying to hypnotize him.
That's actually less powerful than usual. Either your jewel's drained or your little fusion doesn't give you any new powers.
I pointed my hands desperately at Jonathan. Come on! I threw my hands forward forcefully. My vision suddenly got red and blurry, my head pounding.
Curses! I don't know how a summer and night jewel are supposed to interact. Keep trying, Ingrid, or he'll kill you.
All right. Just remember our promise, Ferh. If this gets bad, you need to run. I stepped back slowly as Jonathan advanced. Cedar struggled to stand up with his wounds, and Florence flew to the ground behind Jonathan.
I slammed the handcuffs of ice into a stone pillar 3 times, cracking and then breaking them. But I didn't have my pills. Damn it. I have to help Ingrid, no matter the cost.
Florence!
I looked over to Ingrid as Jonathan approached. She had trails of flame coming off of her, but no attacks came out. Her eyes met mine.
Florence, please just go!
No. You don't get to play sacrifice to save everyone else, Ingrid. I won't allow it. Ever! Frost started forming around my hands.
Don't do it, Florence! You know you can't control your powers without your medicine!
What? She wouldn't. Not after...
I don't care! It's our only chance to live! My mind started to numb as a feral instinct took over my body, spreading ice across my veins from the jewel in my back. I gave in to my magic, and the world turned shock white.
Ingrid, you just hold on a moment. I need to take care of this.
Jonathan turned to where Florence once stood, brandishing his staff. Covered in blood, Cedar ran to my side. Are you alright, Cedar?
I'll shake it off. But hey, Jonathan looks scared. What did Florence do?
Florence takes power suppressors to control her magic. Without them, she loses herself and goes on a rampage. She becomes dangerous to herself and everyone around her.
She's strong enough for that guy to be afraid?
Even though he possesses the power of the winter beast.
Last time she went berserk, it took 10 adult fairies to stop her. That was years ago. But now, with her strength and the magic of wings... The tower of cold air dissipated. In its place stood a colossal insect-like creature of ice towering over the ruins. It had long icicles for legs, the bladed arms of a praying mantis, and giant versions of Florence's hornet wings buzzing on the back of its abdomen. In the creature's head, frozen in ice, was my love, curled into a ball peacefully asleep.
I didn't think she'd lose herself again. I suppose this could be a challenge worthy of my abilities.
I don't get it. Isn't Jonathan being scared a good thing?
If Florence stays in this form for too long, she'll die! Jonathan backed up cautiously, turning his staff into a frozen greatsword once again. The giant mantis raised its blades. In an attack that shook the ruins, causing Cedar and I to lose balance, it slammed them down onto Jonathan. The titanic ice mantis raised its blades back up, revealing the wounded form of Jonathan Hale in a crater on the stone ground. Blood dripped down his face and arms as he stood up shakily. The mantis brought another giant frozen scythe down on Jonathan. He blocked it with his blade of ice before dodging an attack from the other arm, which smashed through the empty ground.
Enough!
Jonathan clenched his fist and jagged icy wings burst out of his back again. He flew into the air, trading slashes against the giant mantis.
Hey! She's beating him!
But we can't break her out of it. Not even with hypnosis. We need brute force to knock her out, or the magic inside will kill her. As the mantis traded blows with Jonathan, I could see Florence starting to breathe heavily on the inside of its head. Blood started to trickle out of her mouth.
Ingrid, do you know why this girl is so powerful?
No, she's always been like this. Do you know why?
I've seen fairies with uncontrollable magic like this before. It belongs to those born in direct proximity to the realm crystals. Long ago, families would put their children through an arms race, giving birth as close to the crystals as possible for the strongest offspring. Their children would become living weapons for control of power. But it came with an immense mental and physical toll, so the barriers were erected, and knowledge of the crystals was kept away from the public.
I don't know if her parents had her born like this on purpose, but we need to save her! Flying in the air, Jonathan raised his sword. It extended even further until it was just a slab of ice as tall as a house. Jonathan let gravity swing his weapon down onto Florence. It smashed through the insect's left arm and 2 of its legs. The mantis reached out and captured Jonathan between its blade and arm. It brought him to its head and took a bite out of his stomach with its mandibles. The mantis threw Jonathan into the ground. Bloodied and unconscious, or dead, he rolled to a halt against a wall. Standing lopsided with one arm, the mantis buzzed its wings and angrily looked down at me and Cedar.
Move!
Cedar and I used our wings to jump out of the way as the mantis struck stone, scattering rubble and debris.
Ingrid, you fused with Ferh! You have to be able to do something about this!
I'm trying. I don't know how our powers work together.
Then figure it out!
With a scream, the mantis attacked again.
Cedar, shield!
Cedar flew into the air, arms crossed over his chest. The shield stopped the bladed arm, Cedar's wings buzzing furiously against its force.
Bring it on!
Ingrid, you must act.
My powers are only good for messing with the minds of others. Yours create fire. There's no synergy. I should have known.
You promised me you wouldn't give in.
But
You promised.
I braced myself on the ground and stared up at Florence curled inside the monster. I concentrated, my head pounding, my vision going red. I can't!
Don't run away from your power, Ingrid. It's a part of you. Embrace it and use it.
My vision floated upwards. I thought I was dreaming. I was eye level with Cedar, who floated in the air and blocked the blades of the mantis. Looking down, I saw my own body laying peacefully on the ground. I raised my hands and saw they were made of fire. I was a burning, ethereal version of myself outside of my own body.
Astral projection with a dash of summer magic. Congratulations, Ingrid. This is our new power. Now, what shall we do with it?
I'm going to save the love of my life! The world around me moved in slow motion. I hovered over to the head of the praying mantis to see Florence curled up inside. Blood dripped from her mouth. She was so pale. I gathered my energy and flew through the mantis's head. The fire around me melted through the ice, and my spirit entered Florence's mind.
I was floating, but there was nothing around me. It was like being asleep, and yet my mind wanted me to drift further. Just a little more, and I could rest for good. In the white void, I felt a warm hand grab mine. My eyes snapped open.
Hello, my love. It's not time for you to go. Come back to me.
I watched the frozen menace start to crumble. Florence was carried down by a half-transparent Ingrid, burning soft like the flame of a candle. She placed her gently on the ground and flew back into her own body. Both of the girls stirred awake.
Well, that was something.
I tackled Florence, wrapping my arms around her. I kissed all over her face, cheeks, and lips.
Whoa there. Not in front of Cedar.
I can, turn around.
Sorry. I'm just happy you're okay.
Me too, babe. Thanks. I love you.
I love you too.
Hey, Jonathan's gone.
We turned to where Jonathan's body had fallen. The only trace of it was a trail of blood, spilled out of the ruins and into the snow, long past our sight.
The Realm Tree was created by Jamar Thompson and Julian Hermano, and is performed by voice artists all over the world. To show your support, please visit therealmtree.com and follow our socials. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for episode 28, Light.